Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by our great friends at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC here in Listowel, Ontario, and the Listowel Squash Courts. Ryan Drury alongside Clarkey. Very pleased to be joined by our friend from the Parleh Media Group, our good buddy Steve McAllister, on the program this week. Mr. McAllister, how are you? There's a lot of bases to cover today.
There is, Ryan. And listen, I had two Ryan Drurys on my Zoom meeting screen there for a second. It doesn't get what a great way to start the show, eh, Clarkey?
Yeah, now I got two McAllisters. That's not good either.
Oh my God, that's like the Blue Jays pitching staff last week.
Oh boy.
Oof.
Yeah, seeing a lot of doubles, aren't they? A lot of doubles of Aaron Judge. We'll get to that. And also at the end of this show, we of course have to review our golf picks from.
And I have no idea
PGA
who won
Championship.
This thing. I haven't added it up.
I'm decently confident in who won.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't know.
Anyway,
I have no clue. I don't think
we'll move on. We'll move on. We'll save that for the end of the show. We'll review the picks, and see how well Clarkey did with his quote unquote asterisk team. Yeah. Now, speaking of asterisks, now we're going to cover the conference finals. We're filming this Wednesday, May 24th. Obviously, as we film this,
we're recording it. We're not filming it.
Yes,
we're recording.
We're recording it. Sorry,
I went
Tarantino on you. I went Tarantino on you there. So I apologize. We're making Jackie Brown right now. All right, we are recording this Wednesday, May 24th. Obviously, after we record this, it's likely that the Carolina Hurricanes will no longer be playing hockey, obviously. And by the time the show airs, that could also be true of the Dallas Stars. But before we do that, and Steve, I'm very interested in your thoughts on this. We have gone through a circus in the Big Smoke over the last week and a half since the Maple Leafs got put out. Man, oh man, Kyle Dubas is gone. There's accusations flying around on Twitter that he wanted to make trades that Shanahan shut down over the years. There's this rumor of this trade that got nixed. Lots of back and forth, a lot of he said, she said. What is your impression? Because, Steve, you've been a high-end executive with sports organizations, with other organizations, Bruce Power. Like, dude, you've been around the block. What is your impression of what went down with Brendan Shanahan and his press conference that ultimately ended in Kyle Dubas no longer being employed by the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Ryan. The one thing I will say is that I think there had to be changes made. This was a team that, even though the Maple Leafs got through a playoff round, I don't think they played very well in the Tampa series. I thought they played one good hockey game. They played one good game in the Florida series, and that was the game they had to win to keep the series going. I thought they played like a desperate team, and that's the kind of hockey you have to play through the entire playoffs. And that's what we're seeing right now from Las Vegas and what we're seeing from Florida. The Shanahan-Dubas dynamic is and Chris knows this from his time working in sports media in Toronto. I mean, usually you have media people who end up lining up behind one person, and another corner media people lining up with another executive. And there's a human nature piece of that. I think, Chris, you'll agree. And it's just the way things work. I mean, reporters can do their job best when they cultivate sources, and sometimes you have to sell your soul to the devil a little bit to have that source. And so I'm not going to come on here and say that so and so is wrong because they're buying Shanahan's story, or so and so is wrong because they're buying Kyle Dubas' story. The only thing I will say is that, given what's transpired with this team over 9 years under the Dubas and Shanahan and Lamoriello regime, that something had to give here.
You think, so who do you blame? Do you blame the players? Do you blame Dubas? Do you blame the coach? I don't see Sheldon Keefe sticking around when all the dust settles either. But does this team have to make a total overhaul, or do you think they have the horses to take them there, and just with some different people upstairs and coaching, they could do it? Or what do you think?
I'll tell you, Chris, I like this team going into the playoffs. And one thing I have said is just people on the weekend is I'm so sick and tired of hearing goaltending be pointed at as the reason why the Leafs don't move on in the playoffs. So I think that ship is sailed. Samsonov and Joseph Woll were fine in the playoffs. Goaltending was the least their worries. It's hard not to look at the core four and say that the buck stops with them. They under-delivered in the playoffs. I've had people tell me how great Nylander was. I mean, I think Nylander played well at some points, but there were too many points where he couldn't get his game up to another level and play with that desperation that I talked about earlier. So I think that core four, they let the team down, let Kyle Dubas down. And I wonder, I thought Dubas did a good job at the trade deadline, Chris, but I just wonder with the salary cap and how much they've shelled out with those 4 contracts, how badly that's hamstrung Dubas and the Maple Leafs. And, having a team that you don't have to tinker too much year after year, maybe that's part and parcel of the salary cap era where you're always going to have to make significant changes to your lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I think Dubas did a great job at the deadline. And it's interesting to hear as Ryan said, all the rumors flying around about deals that didn't get done and so on and so forth, and how he wanted to streamline the ability to do his job, basically, of trades and not have to go all the way up the ladder. But as well as I do, these teams are invested and the owners are invested with the teams, and they're not going to allow stuff to happen. Now, I'm sure it's different in different markets, but I think you're barking up the wrong tree if you think that structure with MLSE, especially with Brendan Shanahan at the helm, it's not going to change.
No, and it's a complicated ownership situation because of it's a 3-headed monster with Bell Rogers and Larry Tannenbaum. So that would be tough for the slickest or, the most experienced general manager to navigate those waters. And of course, Brendan Shanahan's going to want to have a say. The other thing I'll give Kyle Dubas a lot of credit for is, and I think this was smart on his part, is when a salary cap, it limits what you can do with contracts, but Dubas, I think, has done a really good job on the hockey operations side with analytics and sports medicine. And again, it's something I'll also give the Toronto Blue Jays credit for with Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro. I think they've done a good job building support for the players. And so when you look at that support system, I think it makes it even more difficult not to place major responsibility on the shoulders of the players, because in Toronto, those players have everything at their disposal to be successful, and they just haven't been able to get it done.
Do you think Dubas might have made a play to replace Shanahan? I know it's all speculation, but to move into a GM/president role?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, Chris, if that was part of his thought process. And I would say, and again, I think the three of us have all been through this, guys, where if you're in a job for a certain period of time, there is going to get to a point where you're going to get tired of certain people. I mean, I went, to be completely transparent, I went through the Globe and Mail. I was sports editor there for 8 years. And in 2008, it got to the point where I felt like people within that department were tuning me out. I was probably a little bit fed up with some of the people I was working with. And that played a large part in my decision to step down as sports editor there. And I think in professional sports, obviously the pressure is ratcheted up even more. There's a lot of dollars at stake. There's a lot of egos at stake. So yeah, that's quite possible. And again, I wonder, if Brendan Shanahan, if the fact that he said that the Dubas press conference on the Monday, in fact, the Dubas did the press conference, what he said at the press conference, that was enough to tip the scales. You have to believe that he was thinking about making a change before that, even if he said he wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bizarre situation because it's either one of two things, right? Either Kyle was, as many people paint him out to be, completely married to this core four and the idea of ever moving any of them. The whole "we can and we will," statement that was made, what was that, 4 or 5 years ago now? I mean, it feels like it was yesterday, and it just wasn't. Which ultimately, because of that fact, leads us, ultimately probably to where we are today, having this conversation. Or he was being stifled by either Shanahan, who might have had pressure on him from above in the ownership group to not move any of those guys, particularly Marner and Matthews, who, again, I don't think Matthews is going anywhere, but certainly Marner, he is always the hot topic of trade conversations whenever they lose in the playoffs, which they've done a lot. either of those things are true, like I have a hard time. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of what I heard Shanahan say in terms of the press conference was the final tipping point. I think that this was something that happened behind closed doors with negotiations where Kyle either wanted more power, more money. The agent came back, depending on whose version of events you believe. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. He's gone now. My concern, though, Steve, is that, and again, the Maple Leafs are a weird product, if you will, because you can say, and we've done this before, Clarkey, you've got it tattooed into your skin. The fan base is just so bloody loyal, and maybe they're loyal to a fault. Yeah, there it is. Like, maybe they're loyal to a fault because a lot of other markets would see like attendance decrease, but there's so much corporate power there. But you look at it in Maple Leaf Square, it's full every year. The renewed passion is there. A lot of other teams would not be able to put up with this level of mediocrity, not winning a playoff series in 19 years. So you sit there and you go, I have a hard time believing that Shanahan wasn't on Dubas's team. Let's remember, Shanahan was the one, and now he's on the hot seat here because he's the one who walked away from Lou Lamoriello and who many people thought was the successor in line in Mark Hunter, who was a big part in drafting Mitch Marner, to promote Kyle. Like a young guy who was a young guy in the OHL. I remember when he took over the Sioux Greyhounds, a lot of people around the league were extremely critical of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And it turns out he's a very smart hockey guy. So I have a hard time believing Brendan didn't necessarily support him. My concern, though, Steve, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. If it's true that either Brendan or the people above him, the board, the owners, whatever, are nixing deals and not allowing moves to be made simply for the interest of, well, Mitch Marner, as an example, we sell too many jerseys. If that's true, let's say you're Brad Treliving, the guy who's rumored to be at the top of the list, or any other great general manager over the years, pick any great GM. Why would I want to go into a situation like that where I'm not able to do what I believe is best for a team and the roster construction? Your thoughts?
Yeah, that would be an untenable situation for a general manager, Ryan. And I think that's a bit of a stretch. I do think, though, that Shanahan would have every right, and I can see there being hard conversations around trades, but I just can't believe, like Larry Tannenbaum, it's gotta just tear at his heartstrings that this team hasn't won a Stanley Cup in 50 years. And I do think, there's a commitment from ownership to winning. And I don't believe there's any complacency because they're selling lots of merchandise and there are 20,000 people at the Scotiabank Arena every Saturday night. And to your earlier point, it would have been really easy for Shanahan to re-sign Dubas, fire Sheldon Keefe. He wouldn't be the first NHL team to fire a coach for underperforming. I think, there'd have to be a decision made. Someone from the core four would go. It looks at this point like probably Marner or Nylander would make the most sense because you're not going to get rid of Tavares' contract. And I really think you have to find a way to keep Austin Matthews in Toronto. But I don't buy the fact that Ed Rogers and George Cope and Larry Tannenbaum would be getting involved with personnel decisions. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's a stretch. I'd be interested in what Chris thinks about that.
No, I don't think so either. I really don't. The amount of trades he made leading up to the deadline, who knows how difficult they were to make, but I don't think there's that kind of. To
be fair, we're not talking about the big guys, though. He didn't trade any of those big
guys.
No,
you're right. And again,
that's a whole other
I know
thing.
You do sell a lot of jerseys with Marner's name and number on it, but you'd probably sell a lot of T-shirts with Stanley Cup championship on it as well. So,
that's kind of my point here, right? Like, and again, Steve, I would like to believe that too, that ownership's not going, no, you can't possibly trade this guy. My whole thing is,
you better make it right.
If they are
that's what worries me. That's, as a Leaf fan, that's what worries me, man. Like those four guys. Because listen,
we all like those guys. They're very talented players. Clarkey, what I say to you last week when we had Doigie on, I think all of those guys, including if you want to expand it to the Rileys of the world, I think all those guys are absolutely talented enough players to be key contributors to a Stanley Cup champion. I just don't know after seeing years and years of evidence.
I know. You're right.
They can do it together
but
here.
Let's be serious here. There's no magic formula. There's
no,
even though I hear guys on TSN saying they're never going to win with this group. How do you know that? Like, how can you unequivocally say that is not going to happen? You don't know.
Well,
next year could be a totally different year. These guys could all of a sudden figure it out? Like they could. They're talented hockey players.
Yeah, and the guy's a conundrum is too, and this is something my buddy Jonah Siegel's brought up on Twitter often. I complete 100%. For everybody on Twitter that's been calling for Kyle Dubas to be fired, tell me who Plan B is. And
right.
Is Plan B going to be better than Kyle Dubas? And again,
Treliving's not. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I think Treliving would make sense if you have to do something quickly. As a guy who's media savvy. We having a discussion about the job he did in Calgary, and we could spend another hour on that. But yeah, it's not right. It's not an easy decision. And you're right, Chris. What I think, Ryan, what was it? How long did Jake Ovechkin win a Stanley Cup? 12 years.
No, I know, and I'm glad you brought that up. And we hammer on this all the time. That's the thing, though, is that Ovi, like we can talk about this up and down. Clarkey, you asked earlier, Steve, who do you blame? I blame the players because the players,
so do I.
Those three guys that make over 10 million, two of them over 11, combined to score 1 goal. And
they
the two guys that make
11 series.
The two guys that make 11 plus didn't score 1. Tavares and Matthews, Mr. 60 goal MVP, this, that, and the other.
I agree.
Didn't play very good.
But
I
as I said, there's
like
no magic formula to say they will do that next year.
No, I know.
Nothing.
But Steve brings up Ovechkin. Ovechkin always led the team in scoring every year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And always he had 13 shots on goal every night. Ran people over. And the Caps did make changes.
They did.
They made lots of changes.
Whatever, yeah.
50 billion head coaches, Mike Green gone, all the goalies gone. Like, dude, they made Semin gone. Like they made changes. This is a situation where I look at these players and I'm like, it's been long enough. And again, you're right, Clarkey. They could, maybe someone puts a burr in their saddle next year and they turn into angry, intense playoff performers. But that is not what they have shown that they are. And that's my worry here is like, can you just, after years, all of a sudden change your personality on the ice? Ovi was consistent with his personality on the ice. He ran people over. He scored a bunch of goals. The rest of the team did not pull their weight. These guys who are the front of the pack, like Big O was before they finally won, they're not pulling their weight. David Kampf led the team in shots in one of the games. Ovi would never let that happen, and that's my point. Steve.
Chris, what you said earlier too about this team might win a cup or go on a run at some point. That's a conundrum for whoever comes in to replace Dubas too, because
100%.
If you trade William Nylander, what are you getting back? And
right.
I think there is a risk of taking a step backwards because again, you're probably not going to replace William Nylander with another 40 goal scorer. Or you're probably not going to replace Mitch Marner with another 99-point guy.
Yeah.
So
I know.
What's it look like?
I agree. And I said it last week. How do you win a Mitch Marner trade? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see one, but I don't know. But I think right now, the thing they need to do is keep the core, as I said, but they need a different voice. As you said, coaches can, once you've been there a while, they don't listen. I don't know who the answer is. Joel Quenneville, is he the guy? I don't know if MLS.
I wouldn't want him near my organization.
I agree with you, but it looks like he's going to be reinstated.
He will
GM,
be, of course.
The GM that I was actually a little excited about when hearing his name was Doug Armstrong. He's under contract, of course, St. Louis, but who knows? But like Brad Treliving does nothing for me. I don't know who else is out there that I think.
Now again, though,
Shanahan was on the record saying they want someone with experience. Dave Poulin's my guy.
Hey,
bring in
we
Pooley.
Love Pooley.
I texted him this week, and I'm going to reveal what he said. I said, "Are you going to be the new GM?" He didn't answer me.
Oh, wow. Hey,
I think that is big.
Previous work, of course, with the Maple Leafs.
He was assistant GM. He won a Calder Cup.
Yeah. Now here's the thing.
I believe.
Isn't it interesting that we're saying, oh, Brad Treliving, he does nothing for me. And then we're also talking about him potentially replacing a situation with Dubas, where in March at the deadline, everybody was going, they should re-sign him right now. What an unbelievable deadline. And I agreed. And Steve, you brought up who's better than him that's available. Is Treliving? Well, I don't know. But then we're also talking about a guy in Treliving who at the start of the year was put in a completely untenable situation where Goudreau walks and then Tkachuk goes, I want out too. And keep in mind, when he made that blockbuster deal to get Huberdeau and Weegar, everybody around the hockey world was going, what a great job by Brad Treliving potentially rescuing their season out of the fire. He managed to turn a really gnarly situation into Huberdeau, who just had a career year, over 70 assists, and a really good player in Weegar. And then because it didn't work out, because that team played like absolute garbage, everyone's going, oh, Brad Treliving, he does nothing for me. It's like, what changed? I'll tell you what changed. The players. Because ultimately this sport, and any sport, is a cruel business. And when the guys that you assemble and put faith in don't get it done, who's the easiest person to point at? We as a species love pointing fingers and going, this singular thing is the reason for our problem. And it's just odd to me now that people are going, yeah, Brad Treliving's in the mix. It's, well, 3 months ago, Kyle Dubas, should have been re-signed to a lifetime deal because he had a great trade deadline. It's
I said
weird how
I
it
said
changes,
it after the deadline, I thought. And let's be honest.
Too.
2 weeks ago, he was Brendan Shanahan's guy.
Yeah.
And
till he said that he was stressed out from the job. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he wasn't. I don't know. Steve, you got any final thoughts for us on the MLSE thing?
Yeah, I'll just add to it. I do feel bad for Sheldon Keefe as someone who enjoys and loves watching hockey. I really like the way the Leafs play during the regular season. I think they're a fun team to watch. I love puck possession hockey. I love the way they play. And so the hockey fan in me is kind of sad that style hasn't translated to playoff success. And again, we've talked in this forum before, I think, guys, about officiating in the playoffs and about how the game changes. And
it's brutal.
I wonder if Keefe, again, the Leafs are a bit of a cat. Not again, please, I'm not pointing the finger at that to say that's the reason the Leafs aren't playing right now. But I do wonder how much of a factor that is. So I will say, if Sheldon Keefe does get fired by the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's going to be coaching in the NHL somewhere again. But again, I think that's
I agree.
Yeah, maybe Pittsburgh.
Maybe Pittsburgh. maybe it's a Dubas Keefe duo, and we see it.
It could be.
September.
Yep.
Yeah, you never know, and maybe that works out for him. Where Sid and Gino and Chris Letang by extension, everybody knows that they know how to win in the playoffs. Everybody knows that. Maybe it'll work out better. Who knows? All right. Quickly, let's touch on the conference finals. This is just wild. I can't remember the last time. I don't know if it's ever happened in my lifetime. I'd have to research it. I don't remember certainly a time where both finals, again, as we record this on Wednesday, that both of the conference finals are 3-0. And I mean, let's start with the Dallas situation. I mean, Jamie Benn, did he ever crap all over his team? And I like Jamie Benn. I think he's a good player. But man, oh man, Steve, did he ever put his team in the dunk tank at the start of a must-win Game 3? And Vegas, outside of that, though, and I'm glad I was shocked he got multi-game suspensions, essentially a 3-gamer. Outside of that, though, even if he played that game, I still think they get rinsed because the Golden Knights just look like an absolute wagon, don't they?
Yeah, again, you talk about just the right kind of players and a guy like Stone and what he gives to Vegas by being back in lineup, and that core group of guys, like Peter Angelo and Carlson and Marchessault and you go on and on and on about there's just a really interesting dynamic with that team that's undergone, I think, 3 coaching changes in the last 3 years. And with Bruce Cassidy there now, who, I don't think was exactly a warm and fuzzy coach of the Bruins, but these guys know how to turn it on come playoff time. And with regards to Jamie Benn, like what a horrible 24 hours for the captain of an NHL team yesterday to do something stupid like that when the team needed some kind of a pickup last night that wasn't a cross check to the neck of a guy lying on the ice, but then not to be there to talk to the media about after the game. I think Craig Button really went after Ben on Twitter, and rightly so. I mean, that's just such a, I guess it's lame as hell, pardon my French, but I just can't believe a guy with Jamie Benn's credentials would do what he did on the ice and then basically leave his team high and dry by leaving the rink before the media even got down the dressing room after the game.
Yeah, I mean, let's just call it what it is. Like, and again, I think
it was a cross check to the neck,
gutless,
right? A cross check to the neck.
It was gutless. Now, and
it almost looked like Sam Bennett. How many games did Sam Bennett get? 6?
Well, none. But
none.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I think it obviously, in my opinion, was worse just because Stone's defenseless on the ice and he jumps on him. Now, whatever. We could argue that.
But don't tell me Bunting was defenseless. He had his back turned to me.
Well, Michael Bunting's golfing right now, so I don't want to have an argument.
Yeah, no kidding.
Whatever. Listen, if Sam Bennett got suspended for the rest of time, the Leafs lose that series in 5. It doesn't matter.
Thanks.
Now, listen, what evidence can you present me that it'd be different? Now, I'm shocked that he got any games because, like I said, I mean, Jordan Eberle broke a guy's neck and got no games. So I'm shocked the guy got it. And again, we're not here to argue about player safety again, because then the whole show will just be that. But I agree, it was gutless, and for him to do it and then chicken bleep run away at the end. I thought that honestly, if I'm Pete DeBoer, because I don't lay this loss at Pete DeBoer is a great coach. He'll be back next year. Jamie Benn's not my captain. If I'm a head coach, I think that's so gutless. You put us in a brutal position, 1, and then 2, you run away in your Mercedes, whatever it is, SUV, and run away into the Dallas night. You're not my captain. Sorry.
Clarkey, what was that vehicle?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It looked like a big Mercedes. Maybe it was a Range Rover. Who cares? He's got no range on how to be a captain. That's.
I want to ask Steve, though. I want to dig into something with Steve, and I want to take you back to your NHL PA days there, Arthur. How does the PA get involved with these kind of disputes? Like, do they take sides? Are they always protecting the victim or the guy who cross-check? Like, how does it work? And maybe it's different now too.
Yeah, it was probably, I guess, something that probably stuck in my craw a little bit, Chris, even going back to my years at the NHLPA, where in those kinds of situations, the PA tended to be more sympathetic to the person getting suspended. And
yeah, exactly.
Because wages are being lost.
Wow.
That's why.
Yeah, and there's precedents involved, Brian, and it's a bit of a tangled web, as they say. So, but yeah, if you're someone from the outside looking at it, you're thinking like, man, the Players Association has more sympathy and empathy for the guy who cross-checked the guy lying on the ice than the guy lying on the ice. And
but is the PA actively involved with it before it's announced, or?
The PA would be, certainly in situations, at least when I was there, Chris, when there was a suspension. I remember sitting in the office the next day helping our legal guys like Ian Pulver and JP Berry back then, Jeff Citron, look at the video and help them with maybe newspaper clippings and help them put together a case to take the league when they accompanied the players to those hearings.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely represent them. And I certainly think, in today's game, They definitely, because there's been new CBAs and new stipulations put in there, which again, I don't think a lot of fans are aware of. Like, as angry as we get at George Peros, and no, I don't think he's good at his job, and the rest of the guys there, yes, I don't think enough fans do realize that the players play quite a big role in this. And so we sit there and go, how do you only get 2 games? Yeah, Jamie Benn, I would have given him 10 games. I thought that was a joke, but I don't think a lot of people are aware just how much the Players Association is involved, particularly when an appeal is made and they get an arbitrator and they go about hiring that person, a neutral arbitrator. It's like you said, Steve, it's a very tangled web. Quickly, let's touch on the Eastern Conference Final. The Florida Panthers are just like, they remind me a lot of the 2012 LA Kings. Snuck in as an 8th seed and are just railroading people, Steve. I mean, have you seen anything like this since that 2012 Kings team? Because they remind me a lot of that team.
Yeah, well, it's been the perfect storm for these guys, Ryan. Like, Bobrovsky finally steps up and he's earning the $10 million a year contract he's getting now. He's been fantastic. Paul Maurice apparently was the right guy to come in and take over the head coach.
Relief coach.
Captures lightning in a bottle. Mm-hmm. And then, even Matthew Tkachuk, the guy, we talk about Marner and Nylander and Tavares and Matthews. Here's a guy who stepped up and delivered, back-to-back overtime goals in the first 2 games of the series. Barkov seems to be until he got hurt, was getting better as the playoffs went on. Guys like Cousins and Sam Bennett have stepped up. Brandon Montour, one of my favorite guys to watch the last 6 or 7 weeks and the way he plays. But this is a team where it's all come together at once. And I guess if you're a Leaf fan, maybe it makes you feel a little bit better that you see Florida rolling past Carolina right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic.
Maybe. I think it's just well, how many years in a row now has whoever beat the Leafs out has gone to the final? Like 4 years in a row.
Well, it'll be 3 years in a row this year, will it not?
Okay. I don't know.
Or it might be 4. It's 3 or 4. You're right.
Montreal,
I'll tell you.
Tampa.
I'll tell you this. Yeah, Montreal, Tampa, and now, yeah, you're right. It would be 4. I'll tell you this. It didn't make me feel any better when we lost to Pittsburgh back-to-back years and they won the cup. I didn't go, oh, wow, it made me feel worse, if anything, because I sat there and went, for God's sake, that could have been us. We could have beat them.
But don't you guys think, like, that first game, what was it? How many? 4 overtimes? Like, it just sets the tone for the entire series, really, because like whatever way that game's going, it's just like you score with like 7 periods in
that, man,
to lose that game. And then like Freddie's not even playing in the next game, and I don't know how many saves he made in that game. Then they went back to him in game 3, but they're done. Like I'm not going to brag that I picked Florida and Vegas. Ryan picked Dallas, and
I picked the opposite. Yeah, I had Dallas going to the cup. You know that.
I don't see any miraculous comebacks from any team. That's for sure.
No.
I liked. It's funny. I was sitting Friday night or Saturday. I think Saturday I was at my local golf course here in Kincardine, talking about how great the hockey had been in the first two games of those 2 conference finals, and it's a different story now because we've got 2 teams that are poised for sweeps, but. I thought the hockey was great. And it's funny, Chris, with Carolina, that's a team where, the knock against Rod Brind'Amour has been that he grinds that team really hard through an 82-game schedule, and you wonder how much gas is left in the playoffs. I mean, I think that team's been magnificent in these playoffs, but you're right. I think losing game 1, that was just a real kick in the crotch to those guys, and they just haven't been able to get back on the train.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly hard. And as far as Brind'Amour goes, I agree. Yeah, he pushes them hard. But I mean, this is 2 conference finals in the last, 4 years. No Svechnikov, no Pacioretty, and Teravainen out for a long time. Excuses. I do wonder, the Leaf guys are all healthy if you want to go down that road. I do wonder what the difference, 2 of their best scorers. I mean, but hey, Hindsight's 2020, isn't it? Unfortunate set of circumstances, as they say. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we got to talk about the Blue Jays. Now, I know we're doing this after a big 20-1 rout, but leading up to that, it's not been very fun to be a Jays fan over the last month plus. We'll touch on that next here on Instigating. Back here on Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, Ryan Drury, Chris Clark, back here with our friend Steve McAllister of the Parleh Media Group. And guys, like I mentioned before the break, my goodness, the Blue Jays. Now we're filming this, Clarkey. We're recording this. We're recording this. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. We're filming. We're recording this a day after a 20-1 stomp down to the best team in baseball and division rival Tampa. But man, oh man, before that, losers of 5 straight, 7 of their last 8.
And they're losing again tonight, Ryan.
They're losing as we record this. And I'm getting pretty fed up, if I'm honest. They're last in the division. And the division's the best division in baseball, but we all already knew that. But man, there's some teams that are making them look really, really bad right now. And, you know, Steve, I'll start with you. I'm just getting kind of sick of this. And honestly, the bullpen, I've complained about it for 3 years now. It's not good enough. When I see Trevor Richards, Anthony Bass, the reclamation project that he's basically become, that is Nate Pearson and all these guys, even Jimmy Garcia has completely fallen off the wagon. When I see these guys warming up in the pen, I'm like, my God, it makes me sick. I'm just tired of this. And honestly, I think it's going to cost Ross Atkins his job. They talked all spring, Steve, about we want to play better fundamental baseball. We want to be better defensively, which, to be fair, they have been. We want to pay more attention to the details, and we can't have Teoscar and Lourdes and those guys here anymore. We're having too much fun on the bench. We want to be serious. We're all business now here in Toronto. Well, what kind of business are you in? Because it's not the business of winning. And I got to tell you, I'm getting pretty concerned about Vladdy. Like, it was a couple years ago, we were hearing people say he's the best hitting prospect of all time. Is this guy going to get a $300 million deal? I wouldn't give him $100 million. This guy hasn't hit a home run at home this year. And they moved the fences in. I'm getting scared, Steve. Can you alleviate my fears? What is your impression of what's going on?
Yeah, I don't think I can alleviate your fears, Brian, because when you're playing in the toughest division in Major League Baseball, and you go through a week where you lose, they lose 3 or 4 to the Yankees and then 2 or 3 to the Orioles. You lose 8 games or 7 games to division rivals. They're going to have lost, looks like 2 games in this series with Tampa. That's a tough hole to get out of, even if you're only in the second month of the regular season. And yeah, there's the same alarm bells that have gone off with you, Ryan, have gone off with me the last couple of weeks. And I'd even say going back to the first week of the regular season, I was quite surprised to see Jordan Romano coming in the 8th inning in a game in April. And that tells me that your bullpen's not very good. And Chris, that's a far side away from 92 and 93 where, you know, Dwayne Ward came in the 8th inning and blew 3 guys away. Tom Henke came in and pitched the 9th. And
automatic.
93 is Mike Timlin's getting your 3 outs in the 8th and Dwayne Ward's getting your 3 outs in the 9th. And Ryan, to your point, they just don't have those horses right now. And I'll tell you guys, I think, Ryan, you and I may have talked about this after the World Series last year. The one thing that, and again, I don't watch as much baseball as I used to, but the one thing that blew me away watching the MLB playoffs and the World Series last year was just how good the bullpens were for the Phillies and those teams that went deep in the playoffs. And again, it's not just 1 or 2 guys throwing 95 to 99. It's like 4 and 5 guys, and the Jays just don't have that. And you know, John Schneider said all the right things at spring training, but I watched that team twice against the Yankees last week, where you needed a guy that bunt a guy over. You know, Whit Merrifield was up in I think a 0-0 game. 2 guys on, nobody out, 2 pitches in a row, and he can't get a bunt down. And this is a guy who's a 240 utility player. Like, bunting should be part of his resume. He can't get it down. Even the game, again, they're having trouble scoring runs. They get runners on first and second. I think maybe an extra innings with nobody out. And Bo Bichette comes up. That's a situation where if you're scuffling a little bit, you gotta ask Bo Bichette to get a bunt down and move a guy over 90 feet. And they don't do that, and they lose that game. So it seems like this team's creeping into the same old bad habits, and you just can't do that in a division that they're in.
So
yeah, it's concerning.
Is the manager to blame here? Not asking these guys to do it. You got Don Mattingly hovering in the background, which I thought was sort of a curious,
the same kind
sort
of thing.
A curious hire at the time. There's got to be some pressure on the skipper there, don't you think?
Yeah, and Chris, like you've been around ballparks a lot, and I've always said that, I watch Twitter and I see what's being said, and I always remind people, and this goes back to my days covering the Blue Jays for the Canadian press, where it's 162 games. So you can't treat every game like it's life and death. But when it becomes 3 or 4 games and you see patterns develop, and sports are making adjustments, and I see this team not being able to make the necessary adjustments. And, if guys like Guerrero, if you're swinging for the fences, it's fine to do it for 1 or 2 games. But when you're doing it for 3 or 4 games in a row, and you're having games where you're, 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position, and the next night you're 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position, and you're not making those adjustments, that has to fall to some extent on the shoulders of the manager.
Mm-hmm. No.
It's bizarre to me. And yeah, John Schneider, look, I thought he earned his place with what he did last year when he took over for Charlie Montoyo. But right now it's the opposite. And
also
again,
remember the mistakes in the playoffs too.
100%. Not good.
Not good at all.
And again, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here. We did just talk about, with Dubas and Tree Living in our hockey segment about blaming one guy. But listen, you have so much control over the tempo of the game as the manager, and going out there, that Alek Manoah fiasco the other night where he didn't remember that Pete Walker already went out. It's like, dude, come on. You gotta be dialed in on that stuff. You're the manager.
Yes.
It's unacceptable to me.
It is.
But again,
it is.
I look at Ross Atkins and what they do here and the perceived penny pinching that can go on sometimes. Again, look, I'm not scared to death about what's going on with Vlad right now. He's been very disappointing. Let's just call it what it is. This guy should have way better stats. He should be up there with Pete Alonso in the lead for MLB home runs. It's a joke to me that he hasn't hit a home run at home. Bichette is by far their best player. And that's the thing, people still complaining. But again, the whole team, the runners in scoring position thing continues to just be a nightmare. You cannot be a team with this level of talent and just hit singles and doubles and expect to power your way, with home runs. You gotta drive runners in. And that feels like such a dumb thing to say. Of course you do. This is baseball. So do it. When you look at this last 10, 11 game stretch, as we record this, they've lost again, 7-3 now. So now they're 6-14 against their division. Unacceptable. With all the changes we heard in the spring, and you brought it up again, Steve, the bullpen stuff. You got a bunch of guys that can't bring heat. Yeah, Romano and Garcia, they can kiss 98, 99 sometimes, but they're the only ones. Nate Pearson, who's up now, I've given up on him. But the bulk of your guys are dudes that rely on movement. When their movement's not there, or they're throwing it way outside the zone, guys just walk. And they walk guys a lot. The whip of their bullpen is not good. And for anybody who's thinking, well, what does it matter? Having a guy that can throw 100 and this, that, and the other. Go watch the documentary Fastball. Go watch Fastball. And it's, kind of delves into the great fastball throwers in baseball history. But there's a segment in it where they have Andrew McCutchen there. And they're talking with this physicist about the difference between a 95 mile an hour pitch and a 100 mile an hour pitch, and how limited your brain and eyes have to react. And it is unbelievably significant. It doesn't sound like much, right? 5 miles an hour to your eye, it's insane. And they just don't have the guys. Last year, Houston, Matone, Presley, Neris, they got KO'd by the guys in Seattle. I'm just fed up with this, and I'm fed up with guys not being able to hit. When you look at this recent stretch, Steve, they're 25th or worse in almost every hitting category. This cannot happen. What do you foresee? Do you think if this continues that Donnie Baseball is going to take over as the manager and they might have to fire John Schneider, who I think's a good guy? But do you foresee that happening potentially?
I can't see. I mean, Ross Atkins has been pretty methodical with the kinds of moves he makes. And when you fired a manager last year, I think it, year after year, can you pin it on the manager if guys aren't hitting? And it really is. We use conundrum talking about the Leafs, but I'll use conundrum here too, because you look at this team at the start of the year. I mean, Matt Chapman was batting, I think, 600 a week and a half.
Player of the month
season, and these guys like Kiermaier and all these guys were taking extra bases and stealing bases and making things happen. And you would think that the way this team has been reconstructed, that they wouldn't be susceptible to these kinds of slumps now, because they could actually manufacture runs when they weren't getting the long ball. But for whatever reason, they aren't. And it's so weird, because you think this team, has the ability in a tight game, but I think the bullpens really let them down, Ryan, and they relied way too much on Jordan Romano to get 6 outs for them, and that to me is a recipe for disaster, especially in today's Major League Baseball environment, where starters are being yanked when they throw 95 pitches.
I definitely agree with that. Listen, I don't want to pin this all on Schneider.
No, because the management's made some. They made some changes, as you mentioned, in the offseason. And
big changes.
One curious one that we discussed, Ryan, on this show was trading away the young catcher, Moreno. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was Moreno and Gurriel from Varsho. And Moreno's batting over 300. Gurriel's batting
having an
unbelievable
year.
And you see Jansen and Kirk down there at 201 and 210 or whatever he is. Like, that's a major issue with that. And they have this young catcher that they kept building up, and I don't know, that's a mistake. And then the Biggio experiment's got to end.
I can't do it anymore. They brought him in tonight as we record. They brought him in to pinch hit. He's
batting 150. He's batting 150.
Look, God love Kevin Biggio. He's a good defender. He is. Can't take that away from him. Defensively, he's a pretty good player. So versatile. Clearly a smart baseball player, because he can play just about anywhere. Geez, I wouldn't be shocked to learn he could play catcher. He can play everywhere. This guy can't hit. And it's wild, and it doesn't mean automatically because a guy's your dad that you're going to be successful. But it is mind numbing to his dad is one of the greatest hitters ever, certainly for contact. And the guy can't put a barrel on a baseball to save his life. It's mind blowing. I can't do it anymore. And imagine being Whit Merrifield, a guy that won a batting title, multi-time all-star, really great defensive numbers over his years when you look at his WAR, and he's not starting every night. I'd be kind of pissed off. And Espinal, who, to be fair, has fallen off a cliff as well, I'd rather see him. I think that they may need to go and get a second baseman. One thing they need to do is one thing they need to do, though, is upgrade the bullpen. And I brought this up to my girlfriend's dad the other day, and I'd like your thoughts on this, Steve. Now, it's early. We know baseball trades don't happen very early very often. But there is a situation. I want your thoughts on this. And it would kind of be an interesting coming home party, if you will, in a way. This guy's one of my favorite baseball players of all time. I loved him playing for my Oakland A's. This guy just kicked cancer's ass. So happy for him. And pretty soon he's going to get called back up to the big leagues. Steve, there's a bad situation going on in Chicago with the White Sox. They are in trouble. Late June, I'm picking the phone up, and I don't care that he makes $18.5 million. You're Rogers. You pay this man. I'm phoning the White Sox and going, would Liam Hendricks like to come back to Toronto? Could you imagine? You could interchange the ninth inning responsibility between him and Romano, whoever's hotter. But you could basically put Romano in the eighth, Garcia as a utility man, and have one of the best closers over the last number of years in baseball back in Toronto. What do you think of that?
Yeah, and that a move like that's a no-brainer, Ryan, because they have to address the eighth inning. I mean, again, you can't be 2 or 3 times a week bringing your closer in the eighth inning. I mean, that's just not the way the game works anymore.
No.
And as Chris and I said earlier, you look at those World Series championship teams back in the 90s, basically, if you got 6 innings out of your starters, that game was over. And if you got 7 innings out of the starters, the game was definitely over because you're going to have to face Ford and Hankey. And
sometimes you got complete games. Go figure. Anyway.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's a whole other tirade for us to go on. But listen, guys, it's funny. It's a lot. Well, it's not funny. It's a lousy time to be a sports fan in Toronto. You look at the Leafs and what's going on.
My Argos won the Grey Cup, man. My Argos.
That was how many months ago was that, Commissioner? 6 months ago for crying. Toronto is a tire fire right now. Raptors are a mess. It's a lousy time to be a sports fan in the city below Vaughan.
But it's a great time to have a sports radio. Oh no! Apparently, it's not.
Oh,
wow!
I know it's a good time to have a podcast.
That's right.
It's always a great time to have a podcast. That's for sure, and it's great to have a podcast with you on it, sir. Our buddy Steve McAllister, the Parleh Media Group. It's been fun once again to chat with you. Enjoy your vacation. And man, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, buddy. Thanks so much for doing this, eh?
Thanks, Ryan and Chris. It's always a highlight of my week, and we are definitely getting together this summer, even if we have to maim someone to do it.
Absolutely. Let's do it. We'll figure it out. We'll leave all the planning up to Clarkey. All right. Then it'll definitely get done. All right. We'll take one last quick break. We'll come back and review our PGA Championship picks because somebody is a winner. That next here on Instigating. Wrapping things up here on Instigating with Clarkey and Drury this week. Ryan Drury, Chris Clark. Thanks to our buddy Steve McAllister, the Parleh Media Group, for joining us, chatting MLSE, taking stock of the Blue Jays, taking inventory, if you will, of their lackluster bullpen, maybe taking inventory of some guys, Liam Hendricks.
I can't get into it. Okay, obviously I'm focused on my Leafs when they're playing. And then the Leafs are done, and I look, and the Blue Jays are struggling. It's tough. It's tough for me. I'll watch games when I'm home and capable, but it's just frustrating watching this team knowing they're in last place. Now, if they were in the other division, they'd be in first place. At least a couple days ago when I looked at the standings.
That's the AL East.
But that's life. You got we were promised a lot of success, I think, from these.
And again, right? They took inventory of what they needed in the offseason. Maybe they got to take inventory of this bullpen. Speaking of taking inventory, our friends at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC, they're taking inventory. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
We have a lot of inventory.
Yes,
we have choices now.
I drove by.
We have choices. It was funny tonight. I was talking to let's just say his name was Corey, and Corey was in, and he's like, "Okay, I want a truck." And I said, not often in the last couple of years have I said this, but what color do you want? Because we have choices. We have blue, we have red, we have black, we have white. Ash metallic, whatever you want. We have a lot. So the other thing is, there's a little sale going on at Hudson's right now. There's been some half-ton trucks, dealer discounted, Ryan. So now is the time to come on in. And the TurboMax vehicles are on at 1.99% up to 72 months. The TurboMax trucks. So if it's a 2.7 4-cylinder you're looking for, that's what I drive. I love it. 1.99. Try to get 1.99 rate anywhere right now.
Yeah.
Not easy. But 1.99 up to 72 months on the 2.7s and a discount. Come see Clarkey. If you don't have a rep or if you have a sales rep, please call on them and get in before things change. The end of the month's coming and things change. So you have a week.
There's time.
You have a week.
Time.
Let's go.
You have a week. Luckily, the Jays have longer than a week to go and acquire my friend Liam Hendricks, and you have a week to go and acquire a great new truck with our friend Clarkey and our great friends over at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC, 1000 Wallace Avenue. Easy to remember.
And we're a week away from the Canadian Open, I think, aren't we?
Yes. We're a week away from 2 weeks out. Heading
well,
into
like
this
a week
weekend,
away. Yeah.
Yeah. So a week out, and we'll be doing more picks for that. You can guarantee.
Oh,
speaking of picks, to wrap the show up, let's review. Producer Adam, he's got it.
Oh, do you know who won?
Chuggy,
do you know who won?
Well, we're going to find out right now.
But do you know?
I have a pretty good idea. I have a good idea.
You're
I don't
smiling.
know for sure.
I
feel confident.
Oh,
I feel confident because I had Rory and Victor Hovland. Now, Doigie had
Koepka.
Doigie had the winner. Yeah. But producer Adam's got the graphic. Let's see how it all shook out. And Clarkey, let's see how it turns out here. Okay, so Chuggy.
My gosh, it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Drury. Wow.
Yeah. Now I thought I was in good shape because of course,
gosh.
you know, while Matty Skechers hurt me, you know, Hovland was great.
Matty Fitz missed the cut though.
Yeah, Matty Fitz was tough. Yeah. But Chuggy again did it. What do you mean? What do you mean she did what? She was 20 over. Oh, sorry, she was 20 over. Yes. Never mind. Now, I'll say this though. Yeah, as I look here,
I was second.
Yeah, I did win. Okay, so I
won. Well, according to this, if Adam added everything up right, you won.
He did. I know he did. I double checked it. Now, conspicuously though, you did not win. Second place. Second's just the first loser. Second. Hey, if you're Ricky Bobby,
but it just goes to show you, maybe it's a little easier.
No. We're safely removing the asterisk from Chuggy's win. I won't.
We're talking without Chuggy on. We'll bring her on next week, maybe. But
no.
Chuggy won
the asterisk
when she had the asterisk. Now she had to actually take part, and she was 20 over.
Fine, but it's not like we've never done that before. And listen, the asterisk is gone.
Yeah.
And remember, because Ricky Bobby said, there. What did he say, Clarkey? What did Ricky Bobby say?
Sorry. Well,
if you're not first,
you're last.
That's right, baby. That's right. And you'll never be last when you work with our great friends at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC or our good buddy Al over at the Listowel Squash Courts. We appreciate their support.
I want to mention I was over there this morning talking to Al. Yes. Just stopped in to see how he was doing. We're renovating the upper deck like the Blue Jays.
Yes, he's doing some. Yeah,
we are doing the same. We're putting in some new seats, some new stadium seats. You're going to be overhanging basically the courts. You can heckle them like you can the opposing bullpen, right? So yeah, we're doing some work over there. I didn't lift anything today to hurt myself, but I just went over and things are happening over there. We have a couple of TVs in the lounge now, so you can go over and watch a game after you play. A nice couch. Got to tell you, it's looking good over there. And we have our summer box league going. I haven't played yet. I'm still nursing an injury. I know I've said this for a long time now.
Well, listen.
But if anyone knows how to make a heel spur go away, please call me and let me know.
You're going to have to call up Troy Tulowitzki. He can help you out. And unlike our friends at the Blue Jays, our friend Al, consistently improving. How about that? Easy to sign up to become a member over there at the Listowel Squash Courts. Yeah. You can watch this show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with our friends on Whiteman TV. That's channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. We debut on our YouTube channel Friday nights at 9 p.m. Follow us on social media at InstigatingPod. Once again, thanks to our buddy Steve McAllister, the Parleh Media Group, for joining us this week. Great discussion. Great to catch up with you, Clarkey, Ryan Drury, Chris Clark, Instigating. We will be back next week.